What is up, guys? Now today we're going to be looking at a new series called League of Tips, and funnily enough we're going to be looking at some tips. So hopefully every episode you'll walk away with at least one thing that you think, oh yeah, that's kind of cool, I didn't know that before. Now the whole idea of this is that I'm going to be showing you some cool tips, but I also want you guys to get involved and share your tips. That way everyone is going to learn so many cool things, and who knows, if the tip is cool enough then I could feature it in a future episode along with your name on screen. Anyway, let's jump on to the first tip. A lot of you might not know this, but I actually play a lot of Xerath, and one of the biggest problems with him is that I would run out of mana when I couldn't use my passive. So the situations you can't use your passive is really like when you're pushing to their tower, you've cleared the wave, there's just nothing to hit anymore, or when you're having to farm with your spells in a really difficult matchup. So in these situations you can't use your passive, right? And really you want to be using it every single time that it's up. So the trick that I found was walking back to my raptors or my chickens, warding over with my trinket, and altering to use the passive. Remember as well that the higher level you are, the more mana you're going to get back, so it actually becomes more useful, I guess, the later it goes into the game. And in these clips I'm pretty low level, so it might not seem like a lot, but it does actually add up. Now it is useful on other champions, especially someone like Vlad as well. It's really good on him when he gets his Hex Tech and a couple of stacks of his E, because if you can't reach the wave to use your Q and to heal yourself, then you just run back to the chickens, you ward over, you heal, and you run back into lane. So the next tip is for Jax, and we're going to be looking at his E. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the bonus damage component of it, the part that I'm highlighting of it. Now his E has a base damage, but that can be increased by 20% for each attack that he absorbs, up to 100%. So doing this little trick is going to double, if not more, your damage output from your E, which is especially useful in the early levels when you're trading in lane. So the trick is that we need at least 5 autos to absorb, right? And the easiest way of doing this is to walk up to the enemy laner, attack them first, and then use your E. So when you auto attack first around minions, you'll see that all the minions around you aggro onto you, and that means they're stacking up the damage part of the E. They're the 5 autos that you need to absorb to 100%, and it's just a really easy way of guaranteeing that top damage. So the final tip is going to be for Hecarim, and by the way, Hecarim is actually still pretty decent top lane and in the jungle. He's just kind of fallen out of favor, but he's definitely still a viable champ. Now the tip is with his devastating charge, his E, the thing that makes him go faster, right? And he can actually use that to jump over most walls in the game. Now most of the time you'll use this to get around the jungle quicker. You'll use it on the Gromp, the Krugs and Buffs, for example, to either get around, to chase people, or to escape people when you're going through the jungle. It's also really useful for fights around Dragon and Baron, because a lot of the walls around them are thin enough for you to jump over. So if you're ever fighting and someone dashes or flashes over a wall, then you can follow them with your charge instead of following them with your ultimate. So the way this trick works is very simple. You just have to have your devastating charge, your E, active, you have to have vision of the buff, and then you have to right click on them when you're close to the wall. Now you have to be a little bit careful, because if you right click away from the wall, then you're just going to auto path around it. So you have to click next to the wall, then when you're there, right click on the buff over, and you can go over the wall. There are also 2 ways you can actually get vision. You can either just ward over, which is probably a little bit quicker, or you can use your W, which will get aggro, and then you'll get vision from that, and then you can jump over. So that's all for this first episode, and let me know what you think. I actually have a ton of tips that I want to give you guys, so hopefully you found this useful, but also let me know which of these tips you actually knew already and which you didn't know. It gives me a good idea of what I should be putting in these. Remember as well to comment with your tips. I really want to see you guys getting involved with this series, and I will be looking through the comments to try and spot some cool ones to test out, and if they do work out then I'll put them in the video and I'll also credit you. That's all for this time, so I'll catch you in the next video.